That is, mod of f of x is less than or equals to k for all x in the closed interval. Then we have proved that modulus value of the integration, that is mod of integration into b of dx is less than or equals to k into modulus of b minus a. We have proved this result by considering three different possibilities of a greater than b, a less than b, and a equal to b. Deduction number 4, we have proved that for any bounded and integrable function, if the function is non-negative, then its corresponding integration is also non-negative provided b is greater or equal by a, and the same integration will convert to non-positive value if b is less than or equals to a. From the sketch, actually this idea is very clear, because if the function is non-negative, the curve is going to lie above x-axis, and whenever the curve will lie above x-axis, surely the area bounded by the curve is non-negative. Okay. In deduction number 5, we have just extended the previous boundary integrable functions f and g, and if f is greater or equal by g, then we have proved that integration f is also greater or equal by integration g for b greater or equal by a. And if we change this inequality, there will be a change in this same inequality. Okay. One point I forgot to mention in the last lecture, that whenever f is greater than or equals to g, what kind of curves are going to be there? Okay. Suppose this is the function f. Okay. This is the curve under the consideration between the limits a to b, say, right? The condition imposed on this function is f is greater equal by g. If g is greater equal by f, then the function f is also greater equal by g. If g is greater equal by g, hello, students,
Madam, you are
where
not
will be the
audible.
location of the function g? Okay, see, let me repeat. We have seen the deduction number 5, that if the two functions f and g are bounded and integrable, provided f is greater equal by g, then integration f is greater equal by integration g for b greater than or equals to e. No doubt with the mathematical steps we have proved the result, but let me explain you by the sketch itself, right? What the sketch tells us, if I draw this as a function here, if I draw this as a function here, where will be the location of a function g? Provided f is greater equal by g. Correct now? Therefore, may I say the curve of g either touches here or it is above here. Correct now? Either it touches here or it is above here. Why I am saying it touches here? Because there is one possibility equal to g. Correct now? F is either greater than g or f is equal to g. Therefore, there may be some points at which f and g are going to coincide. Right? Therefore, the location of the curve g is somewhat like this. That is above the curve of function f. Right. Then what about the area bounded by G and area bounded by F? What would be a relation? Surely area bounded by G is greater equal by area bounded by F. Why we are saying greater equal? Because of this possibility. Because if F is equals to G, then what will happen? Area bounded by F is exactly equals to area bounded by G. So here we are saying area bounded by G is greater equal by F is greater equal by G now. Sorry. Yeah, I told you by assuming G is greater equal by F. G I have taken greater equal by F, right? G is greater than F. Okay. But there is no issue among the integration, right? Then let us come to the today's lecture. Now in today's lecture we are going to study the next part of the syllabus, that is refinement of partition. Okay. What do you understand by the word refinement? What is the first meaning comes in your mind if we call the word as refinement? Refinement means making someone very finer. Correct na? Making the things to be finer. Right? Fine. Okay. Now, according to the definition of partition, refinement means whatever is a partition given to us, we are going to increase the number of points in the given partition. And the actual definition of refinement is a partition P star is said to be refinement of P if what if P is contained in P star. If P is contained in P star, right? That is, every point of P is a point of P star. Every point of P is a point of P star. Right? Means in P star there are more number of points than P. Therefore, here we can say that P star refines P. P star refines P, or P star is finer than P. Therefore, what is the simple meaning of the refinement of a partition? We have to increase the number of points of the given partition, right? Therefore, if suppose this is the real line of partition I am going to show of a closed interval AB, say A is x0, this is x1, this is x2, and so this be the third point x3. Now, if I want to make the refinement of this partition, then what I have to do? Okay, A, B I have to keep as it is. The points x1, x2 also I have to keep as it is, and we have to increase the number of points in the given partition. Say here I am increasing 1 point, here I am increasing 1 point, here I am increasing 1 point. Okay, therefore the points in the partition, if they are increased, the partition is said to be refined. Okay, and the partition is called as refinement of the given partition. Okay, or another way to explain is, suppose there are two partitions of the same interval A to B. Say this is the first partition P1, and let this be another partition P2. In P1, suppose I have only these 2 points. Okay. Now in P2, if suppose I have these 3 points. Therefore, if I take the union of these 2 partitions, what will happen? What will happen? How many points I have to draw? First, second, third, 4, and 5 points I have to draw in all, right? Therefore, this will be P1 union P2. We have taken the union of the 2 sets P1 and P2. Now, whether this P1 union P2 is a refinement or not of P1 and of P2 also. How many points we have in P1 union P2? In between A to B, we have 5 points. Means in all there are 7 points. That of in P1, we have 4 points. Okay. And whether all the 4 points are coming in this category? Yes, they are coming in this category. Right. Similarly, for P2 also, all the 3 points in between A and B, we have drawn here. Therefore, this is a refinement of P2 as well. Therefore, whenever we have 2 different partitions, P1 and P2, yes.
Sorry ma'am, but मुझे समझ में नहीं आया starting से definition.
Okay, I'll tell you with an example also. Okay. Actually, the definition of refinement is simply increasing the number of points. So therefore, what definition tells us? A partition P star is said to be a refinement if P is subset of P star. That is, P is contained in P star. Okay, let me tell you an example so that the idea is clear. Suppose we have a closed interval 1 to 10 in our hand. Now we want to define the partition of this. Okay. Now what kind of partition I will define? I will take only 2 points, say 3 and 7. Therefore, what is my partition P? Having 4 points, 1, 3, 7 and 10. Right. Now I want to make the partition, refinement of the partition, or I want to make the partition to be refined. Okay. Now in order to make the partition Refinement of the partition, what I have to do? I have to take all the previous points as it is, 1, 3, 7 and 10, and we have to increase the points in between. Okay, therefore let me increase a point here, say 2. If I increase the point 2, what will be P star? The set P star is 1, 2, 3, 7 and 10. Right? Whether all points of P are the points of P star?
Yes,
Yes.
ma'am.
Yes.
Also, this is a point extra. Therefore, may I say the condition P contained in P star holds? Yes.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Therefore, P star is called as the refinement of the partition P. Okay, very simple meaning it is for refinement. Just we will increase the point in the given partition. This is a refinement. Let me increase one more point here. Let me write it as 5. Let me increase 2 more points here, 8 and 9. Okay, therefore what is this? P dash I will write. What is P dash? 1, 2, 3, 5, 7, 8, 9 and 10. Whether it is the refinement of P,
Yes,
whether
ma'am.
all points
Yes,
of
ma'am.
P are there? Yes, 1, 3,
Yes, ma'am.
7, 8. All points are there. And except those points, there are some points extra. Therefore, this P dash is refinement of P. Why?
Yes.
Because P is contained in P dash. Also, may I say this P dash is a refinement of P star also? Because all the
Yes.
points of P star are in P dash. All the points of P star are in P dash. All the points of P are in P star. Therefore, may I say this P dash, whatever we have written, is a refinement of P star and is the refinement of P as well. Okay? Therefore, the simple meaning you have to keep in mind is refinement means you have to increase the number of points in the given interval so that the length of the subinterval will get decreased, small length we will get, so that we can say that the subintervals are made finer. Subintervals, length of the subintervals made finer. Fine means thin, na? If I take the actual word to word meaning of the word fine, then fine means thin, na? Okay. Therefore, if I take the length of this first subinterval and compare it with the length of this first subinterval, may I say the length of subinterval is reduced. Therefore, the length of the subintervals included in the partitions is becoming thinner and thinner, finer and finer. Therefore, increasing the number of points in the given partition, we will get the refinement of the partition. Is it clear?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
Next definition is norm. Okay, norm we have studied relating to the length or distance between the 2 points. Correct now? Previously we have studied. Actually, distance concept was there initially. Then later it was generalized to metric. Then metric again it was generalized to norm. And that norm is giving us the length or distance between the 2 points. Okay, but here in this definition, this is a defined to be the length of largest subinterval. Okay, how it is defined? Length of largest subinterval. Okay, so I write the definition for any partition P, the length of largest subinterval, the length of largest subinterval is called norm or mesh. Mesh is the another word. Norm or mesh or okay, and it is denoted by mu. Mu symbol we are using, and it is denoted by mu of p or mu simply. Correct? Therefore, what can I define? Norm of a partition mu of p. This is maximum among delta xi. What is delta xi we have defined? from students? What is delta xi we have defined?
Summation of all intervals.
No, it is not summation. This is length of
Length
ith
of
subinterval.
ith subinterval.
Okay. Now, if this is the length of ith subinterval, we are finding maximum among this. And what is the range for I? I is running from 1 to n. Therefore, if I evaluate this, it will give me the length of largest subinterval. Let us come to this interval again. Okay, this p dash whatever we have drawn. What you say, what will be the norm in this case? What is the length of first interval? 1.
1.
Second, 1,
1.
2, 2, 1,
1.
1 and 1. Right now. Therefore, what is the length of largest subinterval?
2.
There are two subintervals
2.
of having length 2. Therefore, what is the norm of this p dash? 2.
2.
Right now?
Yes.
Right. Okay, and if we make sub equal partitions, equal subintervals, then what will be the norm in that case? Norm is
Any
length of
interval.
any subinterval. Length of any subinterval I can say in that case, because the subintervals we have taken to be of equal width or equal length. Right now? Okay. Any doubt with the two definitions, refinement and norm of a partition?
No, ma'am. No, ma'am.
Yeah, okay. If there are no doubts, let me go to an important theorem. The theorem actually we have discussed. What we have discussed initially, I think you are remembering the concept that whenever we increase the number of points in the partition, then upper sum decreases. Right? Correct now? We have seen this. This is the curve, and whenever we increase the number of points, upper sum decreases. With the help of sketch, I have shown you. Similarly, if I increase the number of points in the given partition, then what about lower sum? Lower sum is increases. Okay. Now we are going to prove the same concept with the help of the theorem. Okay. Therefore, the statement of a theorem is if P star is refinement. If P star is refinement of a partition P, then for a bounded function F, prove that. What to prove? Point number 1, L P star F is greater equal by LPF. Second statement, UP star F is less equal by UPF. Let us try to understand the statement. P star we are saying is a refinement of P. What is the meaning? There are few points extra in this P star than P. And we have already proved whenever we have some points extra in the partition, then lower sum increases. Means this lower sum with respect to P star is greater equal by the previous lower sum. Correct now? Same thing is upper sum with respect to P star is going to be less than the previous upper sum. And this is what we have verified in previous lectures. Now in today's lecture we are going to prove with the mathematical step. Okay. Therefore, let me start the proof of the first part. In the first part, we will prove lower sum increases with respect to refinement. Is that okay? Is the statement clear to everyone?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, ma'am.
Now, what we are going to do in this P star, if I take more number of points extra, then it will be difficult for us to do the calculations or to show the result. Therefore, we will try to prove the result by taking only single point extra. Okay, by only 1 point extra. And if by taking 1 point extra, if I prove that the lower sum is greater than the equal by the previous lower sum, then what will happen if I take more number of points extra? May I say the result will be carried out as it is? Correct now?
Yes, ma'am.
For while proving the result, we will prove the statement by taking only 1 point extra. Okay, I will write it. Suppose the refinement P star of P contains just 1 point more than P. Why we are doing this? Just for the sake of simplicity of the calculations. Okay. Only 1 point we are considering extra. Let me consider the point is zeta. Let this extra point be zeta, and suppose it lies in ith subinterval. Suppose this point lies in ith subinterval. What is the coordinate? What are the coordinates of ith subinterval? Xi minus 1 to xi. Okay, that is, we have written xi minus 1 strictly less than zeta, strictly less than xi. Okay, I will show you here how we have the partition. Okay, therefore this is my original partition P. Okay, A to B say, and somewhere here is my ith subinterval xi minus 1 to xi. Okay, then we are considering this extra point to be zeta here. Is everyone getting me? This extra point is zeta, and this inequality we have considered strictly less. What will happen if I consider less equal? If in the first part, if I write this as less equal, then zeta itself will be xi minus 1, no? And it will not be any extra point. But to get the partition, I want at least 1 point extra. Therefore, similarly, zeta cannot coincide xi also. Because if zeta is going to coincide either xi minus 1 or xi, then it will not create any refinement of the given partition. Right? Therefore, let me write both the partitions. What is the partition P? Partition P is x0, x1, 2, xi minus 1, xi to xn. Right? Then what is P star? We have considered x1 to xi minus 1, and between the two we have added extra point zeta to xn. Is the point clear to everyone?
Yes,
We
ma'am.
have taken only 1 point extra in the ith subinterval, that is xi minus 1 strictly less than zeta, strictly less than xi. Equality will not going to here. Okay. Now what is given to us? The function is bounded over this whole interval a to b. Therefore, may I say the function is still bounded over every subinterval we have made, right? I will write this statement as the function f is bounded over the entire interval, closed interval a to b. May I say it is bounded in every subinterval. In every subinterval of P star. If I say it is bounded over every subinterval of P star, may I say it automatically means that it is bounded over every subinterval of P as well. Correct? Now we are going to use some symbol for the infima values. Why infima value? Because first part we want to prove for lower sum. Therefore, let me identify the infima values of the corresponding function in the subinterval. Right? A to B. This is xi minus 1, zeta and xi. Okay. Therefore, what I will do? I will use the notation W1 for infima of F in this interval xi minus 1 to zeta, right? Similarly, I will assume W2 as infima of F in zeta to xi. That of, we know already small mi is the symbol we are using for the infima of F in ith subinterval xi minus 1 to xi, right now? Here it is W1, here it is W2, and here it is Mi as the infima of the function over the two subintervals. Now, from student side, I want the relation between Mi and W1. Similarly, Mi and W2. What is the relation here? Less equal, greater equal, exactly equal. Mi
Mi
is
is
the
greater than
infima.
W1.
Yes, repeat.
Mi is greater than W1, strictly greater than, and Mi is also strictly greater than W2.
Okay, you are saying strictly greater, strictly greater. Whether everyone is agree with this?
No, ma'am.
Hmm.
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
What is the answer then?
Less than.
Less than, ma'am.
Strictly less or less equal?
Less equal.
Strictly less than.
Someone is saying
Strictly less
strictly
than, madam.
less.
Less
Strictly
than,
less
ma'am.
than.
Strictly less you are saying, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Okay. So equality doesn't hold. Let me give you an
Ma'am,
example. Yes.
if equality holds, then zeta will not be point, extra point.
Yes, ma'am.
No, by assuming zeta as an extra point, you have to answer me. There is
Then
no
it
challenge
will.
here. Zeta must be an extra point. That is xi minus 1 strictly less by zeta, strictly less by xi. Assuming this, you have to answer the question I have asked you. Okay. Let me give you an example. Suppose the set I am considering original interval, na? This is a subset of original interval. Okay, if I call this as set A, set B, and set C. Therefore, may I say A is subset of C and B is subset of C. Correct, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Correct. Now let us try to take the same example. Let me write the set C as 1 to 10. Okay. Let me write two different sets. A as 1 to 5 say. B as 6 to 10 say. Right. Therefore, may I say again A is subset of C. B is subset of C. A is subset of C, B is subset of C. The same situation I have considered. Correct. Then what is the infima of this C? What is the symbol we have
1.
used for infima of C? Mi. Correct. For infima of A it is W1. For infima of B it is W2. Therefore, what is Mi value here?
1.
1. What is W1 value here? Infima of A?
5.
1.
1. Infima of B?
6.
6. Okay. Therefore, what relation we have? Mi and W1, Mi and W2. Equal? Mi is equal to W1, na?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes,
ma'am.
ma'am.
That means Mi is strictly less by W2. Correct, na? Mi is strictly less by W2. Both are the subsets. Therefore, what are the two possibilities we have obtained? What are the two possibilities
Less
we have
than
obtained?
equals.
Equal
Less
and
than.
greater.
Yes, it is less than and or equal to. Less
Equal
than
to.
or equal to. Therefore, combining both, may I write Mi is less than or equals to W1? Means it depends on your set. Correct? It depends on your set. Okay. If you are getting confused with symbol B and B, this is the set. Therefore, let me write W1 here. B is also a set of C, na? Subset of C. A is also subset of C. Therefore, I will write W1 to both. Then in one case mi is equal to w1, in another case mi is strictly less than w1. Therefore combining both the cases one can write mi is less than or equals to w1. We don't know what kind of set it is. Therefore what for w2 also, w2 is the infima of another subset b of c, right? Therefore what is the relation should I write here?
Less than
mi,
equal.
correct, mi is less than or equals to w1. Similarly mi is less than or equals to w2, right? Now knowing this relation between the infima values of the original or ith subinterval and the two subintervals xi minus 1 to zeta and zeta to xi. Now let us proceed to find out the lower sum regarding both the partition. Therefore first I will students, what is the definition of LPF?
Small mi delta xi.
Into delta xi.
The xi. Let me elaborate this over sum m1 delta x1, m2 delta x. Somewhere here I will have mi delta xi till mn delta xn. Okay. Next, we will write down the lower sum regarding the refinement, that is P star. Okay, what is the definition now? Mi delta xi we cannot write because there are only n subintervals. Let us write independently. No problem for except I. We will write the remaining subintervals as it is. M1 delta x1, M2 delta x2. Okay, what for this ith subinterval? We have divided it into two parts. What is the first part? Xi minus 1 to zeta. What is the corresponding infima? W1. Therefore, may I write this is W1 into the length of a subinterval, that is zeta minus Xi minus 1. Okay. Similarly, what is the second subinterval of this? Zeta to Xi. What is the infima we have written? W2. Therefore, may I say this is W2 into length of the subinterval, that is Xi minus zeta. This is W2 into Xi minus zeta, and the remaining as it is Mn delta Xn. Is that okay? Now actually we want to prove the result that lower sum with respect to P star is greater or equal by lower sum with respect to P. Therefore, is it sufficient for me to prove that the subtraction is greater or equal by 0? Is it okay for you if
Yes,
I
ma'am.
prove this as LP star f minus LPF is greater or equal by 0? Therefore, what I will do, I will start with this difference because I have found both the values LP star f and LPF I have calculated. Therefore, let me thus consider what to consider LP star f minus LPF. Correct now? Let us take the subtraction. What do you think? If I take a subtraction, all the terms will get cancelled except this ith one. Na? First one will get cancelled. Second one will get cancelled. Similarly, this last one and the remaining also will get cancelled. Only in the LP star f, these two values will remain, and in LPF, this value is going to remain. So let me write this is W1 into zeta minus Xi minus 1 plus W2 into Xi minus zeta subtracted with Mi delta Xi. Correct now? All the remaining values are going to cancel one another. Only the problem is for the ith subinterval. And these two values we have written for ith subinterval. Okay. Now let us just calculate. Before calculating, let me write down what is delta xi. Can anyone tell me what is delta xi?
xi minus xi minus 1.
Yes, good. This is xi minus xi minus 1. Okay. Now what the term we will do? We will multiply by the corresponding infimas in the bracket and we will make an adjustment. Therefore, what is the multiplication? This is w1 zeta, w1 xi minus 1 plus w2 xi minus w2 zeta minus mi xi minus plus mi xi minus 1. Okay. Now, in order to prove the result, here we are making an adjustment, adding and subtracting a term mi zeta. Okay. Here I will write adding and subtracting. This is purely an adjustment in order to prove the result, adding and subtracting mi zeta. Okay. Now what we will do in the next step, we will collect the terms of, we will collect the coefficients of zeta, xi and xi minus 1 separately. Therefore, the first coefficient I will collect of zeta. Okay, the first term is having a coefficient w1. Okay, next one more it is having w2, but instead of this I will take this added term, minus term I will take. Therefore, this is w1 minus mi. Okay. What are the coefficients of xi minus 1? This is minus w1. One more here having mi. Therefore, this is mi minus w1. Right now? w2 minus mi. Now one more term is remaining. 6 terms we have collected. We have now 8 terms. Okay, and what is left with us? What is left with us? This one and this one is left. Therefore, this is mi minus w2. Right? Is the voice audible, na?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Now what we will do? We will try to collect the terms try to collect the coefficients of w1 minus mi and w2 minus mi separately. Therefore, if I want to collect the coefficients of w1 minus mi, the first coefficient will be zeta. Here is the term mi minus w1. Therefore, if I take common w1 minus mi, may I say it will be introduced with a negative symbol and the term will be minus xi minus 1. Similarly, I will collect the coefficients of w2 minus mi. Therefore, the first term I will get is xi, and here again there will be a change in the sign, xi minus zeta. Okay, now look at every term involved. Okay, look at every term involved. We have already written the relations mi less than or equals to w1, mi less than or equals to w2. Similarly, zeta lies between xi minus 1 to xi. Therefore, can anyone tell me the nature of w1 minus mi from this inequality? w1 minus mi. May I say this is non-negative? Greater equal by 0, no? w1 minus mi.
Yes, ma'am.
Similarly, what about w2 minus mi? Greater equal by 0? Non-negative. Right?
Yes, ma'am.
What about zeta minus xi minus 1 in between xi minus 1 to xi? Because zeta minus xi minus 1 will be strictly positive, strictly greater than 0. No? Similarly, xi minus zeta will be again strictly positive. Therefore, what about the multiplication non-negative into positive? Non-negative? Non-negative into positive will be non-negative, and addition of two non-negatives will be non-negative. Therefore, may I write this is greater equal by 0. Thus, we have started with LP star F minus LPF, and we have proved it as non-negative, which in turn prove that LP star F is a greater equal by LPF. Okay, and this conclusion we have made by taking only 1 point extra. Okay, therefore this is going to be continued if I take some p points extra. Therefore, repeating the above reasoning p times, one can say that the same statement is going to hold. Therefore, we are going to write, therefore, if p star contains p points extra or p points more than a partition p, comma, we repeat the above reasoning. How many times I have to repeat? 3
3
times.
times.
3 times. And arrive at where we will arrive again with the same conclusion. Na? LP star is greater equal by LPF. Okay. Any doubt with the proof?
No, ma'am.
Okay, good. We will go for the second part of the proof. The second part is continued similar to the first part. Okay. Again, we are going to consider 1 point extra in the ith subinterval. I am not going to write the one repeats. I don't want to repeat all the previous points. We will just jump to writing the suprema values in those subintervals. Correct. Small w1 is the symbol we have used for infimas. Capital W1 is the symbol we will use for suprema of F in xi minus. Capital W we will use for suprema of F in zeta to xi. What about suprema in this subinterval? What is the symbol? Capital Mi. Correct? Now again I want a relation between Mi and W1, Mi and W2. What is the relation? Mi is the suprema of the function in ith subinterval. W1 is the suprema of the function in one of its subset, xi minus 1 to zeta. Similarly, W2 is a subset, W2 is a suprema in the interval zeta to xi. Therefore, what is the relation between Mi and W1? Actually, by mistake, I have written the relation. Yes, can anyone tell me? Let us take the example again. Same example we will continue. Suppose I have a set.
Greater than or equal to.
Good. It
Greater
is
than equal to.
Right. Let me repeat the same example. If I consider the set 1 to 10, once I will consider the subset 1 to 5, and once I will consider the subset 6 to 10. Okay. And now we will note down the suprema value. What is the suprema of this interval Mi? This is 10. What is the suprema if I consider this as a subset? 5. What is the suprema if I consider this as a subset? 10. Okay. Therefore, for the first value, for the first subset, Mi is strictly greater than W1. But for the second subset, Mi is equal to W1. Therefore, combining both the possibilities, Mi is greater equal by W1. Okay. Similarly for W2. Therefore, I will write Mi is greater equal by W1, Mi is greater equal by W2. Right? Now, I will go directly to write down the upper sum value. What is upper sum value? Capital M1 delta x1, Mn delta xn. Similarly, I will write the upper sum value with respect to P star for the same function. No problem for the write the subinterval now. Instead of mi delta xi, we have to write w1 into length of subinterval into w2 into length of subinterval. Correct now? Therefore, this is w1 into zeta minus xi minus 1 plus w2 into xi minus zeta and continue till last subinterval mn delta xn. Okay, very similar to the previous statement. Here also we are going to consider the subtraction up star f minus up. And what should I show? Less equal 0 or greater equal by 0? We want to prove up star f is less equal by up. That what is my m to show this difference is less equal by 0. Correct? Now look at the two upper sums. If I take a subtraction, all the terms will cancel. All these terms will cancel. Only we left with the I values. Okay? Therefore here I will write mi delta xi minus, oh sorry, up star f I have to write first now. This is w1 into zeta minus xi minus 1 plus w2 into xi minus zeta minus mi delta xi. Same steps we will follow. Z value. What is delta xi value? Xi minus 1. Now we will multiply and we will do the adjustment as we have done in the previous part. So this is w1 zeta w1 xi minus 1 plus w2 xi minus w2 zeta minus mi xi minus plus mi xi minus 1. Now here also we will add capital Mi zeta and we will subtract the same. Okay, here also I will write adding and subtracting. Adding and subtracting Mi zeta for the sake of proving the result. Now let me consider the coefficients of zeta, xi and xi minus 1. What are the coefficients of zeta? This I will take w1. Next I will take minus mi. Coefficients of xi minus 1. I minus 1. Here is the term and here is the term. Therefore, first I take mi minus w1. Right. Next I will take the coefficients of xi. What are the coefficients of xi? w2 is here, mi is here. Therefore, what is the coefficient? w2 minus mi. This term I have taken, this term I have taken. Now, how many terms are left? Still, we can find out the coefficient of zeta minus w2 and plus mi. That is mi minus w2. Now, very similarly, we will collect the coefficients of w1 minus mi and w2 minus mi. This is the first coefficient of w1 minus mi, that is zeta, and here is one more term. But this is mi minus w1. We will take a negative sign common and you can write minus xi minus 1. Similarly, I will take the coefficients of w2 minus mi. Similarly, I will take the coefficients of w2 minus mi. What is the coefficient of w2 minus mi? Here it is xi and here it is mi minus w2, therefore putting a negative, this is xi minus zeta. Now very similar to the previous one, we will discuss the values of every bracket. We have already studied mi is greater equal by w1, mi is greater equal by w2 and zeta lies exactly between xi minus 1 to xi. Students have to tell me what is the value w1 minus mi. w1 minus mi. Non-negative, less than or equal to 0. Right now? This value
Yes,
is
ma'am.
less than or equals to 0. What about w2 minus mi? Same, less than or equals to 0. Correct now? Zeta minus xi minus 1, strictly positive. Zeta minus xi minus 1, strictly positive. What is the multiplication of non-negative and positive? Non-negative and positive. In
Negative.
non-negative, we have two cases, negative and 0. If I take negative first, what is the multiplication of negative and positive? Negative,
Negative.
negative. And if I take 0, 0 into positive?
0.
0.
0. So what is the possibility? Less than or equals to 0.
0.
Therefore, these two combinedly give me less than or equals to 0. These two combinedly give me less than or equals to 0. What about their addition?
Less than or equal to 0.
Less than equal
Zero.
to 0.
Or equals to 0. Therefore, totally one can write the discussion is less than or equals to 0. That is UP star F minus UPF is less than or equals to 0, proving the required result UP star F minus UPF is less than or equals to 0. And you have to repeat the statement if there are p points extra. This statement you have to repeat. Okay. Any doubt about today's
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
proving the
No,
theorem
ma'am.
low increases or some decreases with respect to the refinement. Okay. We will have a look on the corollary of this theorem in the next lecture. If you have a doubt, you can ask me. If there are no doubts, let me stop for today's lecture. Thank you for being with me for today's lecture.